You talked about your wife being the impetus for the move to Nashville. This was 2009, so this was a while back, 16 years or so. How? First of all, the first question is how much convincing did you need? Because like that's a giant step, right? Especially for a creative being. Especially like I know from talking to a lot of y'all that imposter syndrome is a thing, lack of confidence in your art and things like that.
Yeah.
Now you're moving to Nashville where everybody's going to be better than you, right? I mean, just that's the
Right.
way it's going to be. So first of all,
Yeah.
how much convincing did you need to actually take that step?
She's pretty convincing. I think she wanted to she wanted to move too. So, it was something she wanted to do as well. So I don't feel like she had to twist my arm too hard. It wasn't like all for me.
Yeah.
If it was, it would have taken me a lot of convincing, I think. But it just felt like a thing to do. So
How important is to you as an artist to have that validation from another person, even if it's somebody who loves you unconditionally, right? Like you have somebody who believes in you so wholeheartedly that she's willing to make that jump with you too.
Oh, it's everything. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I don't, I say about her, she's the reason I moved here, and she's the reason I stayed here because it took me 11 years to sign my first deal.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how many times I wanted to quit and try to go do something else, but she wouldn't let me.
And what was the
So.
goal? Like, was it to be a songwriter or was it to be an artist? Because you've been both, still are both.
Right, yeah. I think initially I wanted to do the artist thing. It was, and then as you kind of get here, you see, wow, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of hands on deck. Um, and so I think I kind of backed off of that for that reason, if I'm being honest with myself. And then was really focused on the songwriting thing, and that was, yeah, it was like I just need to get a publishing deal. I need to be able to do this full time because I was working full time and doing this on, writing songs when I could at night and
Hmm.
with whoever would write with me, and so that was like the thing. But when I saw the artist thing started progressing again, you make demos, you sing on them. People are like, "Who's that?" Like you should be doing the artist thing, and
Yeah.
so that kind of started happening. My desire to do that again started happening, and when I signed my publishing deal, I mean, I was very upfront with them. Like, the ultimate goal is the artist thing, and since signing my deal, it's even more so. It's more my focus now, the artist thing. I don't. They're both big identities for me. I don't think I'm not that kind of artist that would ever be an artist that would just write or sing other people's songs. Like I'm not against that, but if
Yeah.
that's what I did, I wouldn't love it.
Yeah.
It's the whole process, the whole creative process is the whole thing for me. So
Man, I love hearing this from you, man, because I'm such a fan of your art. You talked about 11 years. This is a 10-year town, they say, right? It's notoriously a 10-year town.
yeah.
And you're here on year 11 before you get signed. How is your artistic growth happening during that 11-year period? Like, obviously, you have to get better. So, how are you growing as an artist during that time and as a writer?
It just kind of happens. I think that you meet with publishers and you have your PRO. You go meet with your rep there, and like you play them their songs, and they're like the biggest thing they'll always tell you is like just keep writing, and it drives you nuts because it's like what kind of feedback is that? Just keep writing. Like well okay, but then you get down the road years later and you look back and you're like they're right. You got to keep writing. It's something you got to write 1,000 bad songs before you're gonna get a good one. Like it's just kind of the way it is. The way I explain it to other newer writers is like you got to have if you're gonna write a leaving song, like she's leaving, if you got to write that song or a version of that song like 20 times before you have a toolbox of tools full that you can grab to write that song again, and then start trying to write it a different way that hasn't been done before. It's just a muscle you got to work out a lot before
Yeah.
you're ready. You know.
And was it during this time that kind of cancer came along and put you on hiatus from music as well? Was it during this 11-year period?
It was 4 months after we moved here. It was
Yeah.
like immediately. So yeah.
Wow. So like you take that leap and then it's almost like slow down, big fella, right?
Yeah, it was before I even got started. So and ultimately that the cancer thing going through that threw me off the trail. I mean, I started just kind of adjusting to like I mean, I was happy to be alive, and so like it was like I just kind of got into the throes, the motions of life of all right, you work, you come home, you hang out with your wife, you go to your
Mhm.
would do stuff with your friends on the weekends. Hey, what do we got going on this? You just kind of do that thing, and it threw me off for a while. And it was when my oldest was born. She's 12 now. When she was born, it really hit me hard. Of like, my whole life, because of that heart thing we talked about, it's been drilled into me. Be practical. Go get a job. Play it. Do the safe thing. Music's a fine hobby, but you got to be, do this other thing. And I was like, I didn't want her to learn that from me. I wanted her to learn that if she wants something, she just goes after it, and nobody's going to tell her she can't do it. And so that was kind of like a big switch for me that flipped. And so, yeah, it was a few years after we moved here that I really kicked it into high gear.
I was
And
going to ask you that about your education because you went to school for a non-musical thing, and I was curious how much the whole, blue collar, growing up in a blue collar household, and sometimes the parents can, or not necessarily just parents, but friends and people around you can really kind of look down at the career of music as kind of, come on, man, that's not the way to go. I was
yeah.
going to ask you about that with the education. I love to hear you say that having a kid kind of opened your eyes to what do I want to teach my youngster? Do I want to teach them to stay between the lines or follow your dreams no matter what the repercussions? And so you kind of had that conversation with yourself, right?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Yeah, I'm glad you chose what you did, man. I'm sure there's times when you're not so sure. Let me ask you this because we always look kind of the positive side of a long story, right? A long story where 11 years you're trying to make it and then all of a sudden you do. Looking back at that time when you're finally signed, can you see why you weren't getting signed prior to that? And can you see what changed to get you signed, if anything?
I mean, years prior, I could look back on the songs and see like, oh yeah, they were not good. I thought they were at the time, but they were not. But I would say within the a few years of me signing my deal, before I signed it, a lot of the songs, yeah, most of the songs that they heard, that the publisher heard, that wanted to sign me, were several years old. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. It's kind of like one of those. I think it's God's timing thing. It's like, for me, it was, I had met with a bunch of publishers. A lot of them knew who I was vaguely through my songs. I never did. I never, it's a pride thing, I guess, but I never wanted to go do the hang out in the bars till 2 in the morning with all these other people and try to become friends with somebody who pops off and then you're in their camp and like try to do. I never wanted to do it that way. I wanted to win on merit, and I think that's just a longer road. Um, but when I did get my offer for my deal, it was like nobody wanted anything to do with me really. And then all of a sudden I had 5 offers within like 2 weeks. And
Let's go.
it was just like, why? I don't understand.
Yeah,
So to answer your question, I guess yes and no. I don't, you know,
I mean, I could
I'm
see
not sure
that
what
where
came.
all of a sudden you have all of these offers. I could see why you would think that's God's timing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just an empty cupboard, and then all of a sudden you open the fridge and it's full, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
let's
So.
go. I love that.